So welcome. We are on our third of four on working around the diaphragm. So we're looking at awareness, we're looking at work to release and to strengthen this area. So we're doing quite a lot around loosening in this area, as well as creating a bit more space. So in terms of equipment this week, you need ideally the muscle. I've got a yoga sandbag, which is about 5 kilograms. You could create some weight through putting rice or something similar, rice bags into a pillowcase. So this doesn't have to be done, doesn't have to be done now. You can just rest your arms on the diaphragm just to give a little bit of a sense of that. But we can you could possibly do that this evening. So what we're going to do is going to start with some of our flows straight away. So if you come to the front of your mat and just have a little bit of shake out so we can arrive here. So just let the arms shake a little bit and maybe just bend the knees and have that shake there, maybe moving from side to side. Just to arrive and loosen up a little bit. Okay, so we're going to step back with one leg and we're going to have the heel down. Okay, you may not be able to see that very clearly. Whichever's my back leg, I'm going to have that as my swinging arm. So we're working on side swings to open the side of the diaphragm, the whole side body, just through rhythm, momentum. And we can look back so we have a little bit more of an opening through that whole kind of chain, if you like. So we're not particularly thinking about moving the neck. We're just thinking of taking the gaze behind us as we rock forward and back with the arm. And we're just trying to free up that space for the shoulder as well. So, wherever we hold tension is going to affect the breath, it's going to affect the diaphragm. And there's a lot of potential tension from shoulders, neck, jaw area. And also we hold tension in the hands and the arms, particularly the hands can make an over grip. So trying to relax in the fingers, joints of the fingers, the wrist, as well as the shoulder, and just finding a happy swing. If you need to control it a bit more because there's issues for your shoulder, then that's what you need to do. Okay, so we're going to step back to the front of the mat. Just change sides, but it's the same work, but on the opposite side. So once you've found your happy position with your feet hip distance apart or slightly wider, then you step back and you get the heel back. Keep the front leg bent, whichever's your back leg, catch your arm swing. And you see how that feels, how safe that feels. So you can always do smaller movement if that's the best option for the shoulder to feel safe. But otherwise, take a wider, take a bigger swoop, sweep with the arm. Ideally, just where it will naturally find its positioning. And then they just fall back. You try not to allow the spine, though, to collapse or the front body to collapse. As we do this, you might be looking behind. You might not be. Just have the gaze, the hand as the arm swings back. So the legs, you won't be thinking about the legs very much, but the idea is the legs are keeping the stability for this movement. So not much going on in the legs apart from supporting you enough to stay in a stable position. Okay, so we're going to step forward and move on to our next move. So stepping forward. Again, if you need to shake out, if you need to move the legs in a different way, just to feel like you've released any tension, then please do. So there is we're going to go to warrior one, which we've been doing for the last couple of weeks, where we've been going from extended arms to arms pushing back. But we're going to add in an option, which won't work for everybody's shoulders, of interlocking the hands, but I'll show you that when we get there. So coming to the front of your mat. So this time we'll be on the balls of our feet when we step back with our hips pointing forward. So finding your way back. And sometimes it takes a moment or two to get your balance. So see if that works from the first go. If not, just play around with the front foot, how far you need to have the foot over to give yourself enough space so you're not on a tightrope with the back foot as well. So once you've arrived, then you can extend the arms up. So you get the length, but you're on the ball of the back foot and you're facing forward. So this is warrior one. And then we're going to straighten that front leg, palms come down behind us, push away, open through the chest, and maybe a little look up. Out breath, come forward, lengthening. Bend front knee. In breath, arms behind, opening through the chest. In breath. So just moving between these two positions. Trying to have the breath there as an integral part of the movement if you can. If you can't, then just keep it soft rather than overworking the breath. And if you don't feel happy about pushing the arms back, then just leave them a little softer. If you don't want to look up with the gaze, again, think more about where I'm looking. I'm looking up more towards the upper part of the wall, maybe slightly towards your own ceiling. Yeah. Okay, so just one more here. So coming back to a moment with the traditional positioning with the bent front knee, looking forward, sweep the arms up. If you're okay in shoulders, just interlock the fingers and push the palms of the hands slightly up towards the sky. Now you still, if you have slightly bent elbows, it'll give a little bit more space for the shoulders to not feel like there's too much impingement there. Bringing the belly in to support the lower back. Okay, so there's a little bit of a push into the hands towards the sky, but not so much that you're creating straight arms. So it's a little bit of up and then a little bit of shoulders down. Okay, and gently, gently, gently bring the hands down, let the arms swing, move the fingers. Okay, so sweeping the arms behind you and interlocking them. Yeah, so this time the palms are facing towards the back rather than away. Just see how you feel about taking the arms slightly further away. So your arms are broadly straight this time. And you'll be opening a little bit more through the chest. So you might feel like you can look up like you did earlier, but this time you're keeping the front leg bent. A bit more stable. Okay, and release. So one more of those. So extending the arms up, interlocking the fingers, pushing up a little bit, but then bending the elbows slightly so the shoulders don't rise. But you get, the idea is you get a little bit more length through the side body, maybe, but not as a result of making the shoulders uncomfortable. And rest the arms, and then behind you, shoulders go down, open up the front of the chest, looking up a wee way. And breathing, belly in. And then relax the arms and stepping forward. Have a shake out, quite strong for hips and hip flexors. So, opposite side. Okay, so stepping back. You might do 2 or 3 steps back to find your positioning. Really feel that you're happy with that front leg, knee above the ankle. And from here, we'd extend the arms up. And then we take the hands behind us, coming up to front leg straight and looking up, going through the front of the chest. So that might feel different now, that opening, because we did maybe slightly stronger work when we interlocked the hands on that second part. Okay. So moving betwixt and between. Maybe breathing out as you sink down, releasing the back heel. Maybe breathing in, bring the chest forward and we look up slightly. Sitting back, looking up. Okay. This 1 + 1. Okay, and then we're down, and then we're interlocking the fingers, and then we're lengthening, but keeping the shoulders down. So the elbows need to be slightly bent. And then releasing the arms. And if you wish to try the one behind you, then try that. Interlock fingers behind you. And relax. One more. Lengthen. Extend palms to the sky. Bring the elbows slightly. Breathing. Relax the arms back and down. And let's see if you feel okay about opening through the shoulders, which opens the front body. Great. And release. And step forward. Okay, so quite a lot of these flow movements involving quite a lot of work with the legs and the hips. So see how we go. So we're going to continue with that. So we're going to be into Warrior 3, do a little bit of movement within Warrior 3, and then we'll do Reverse Warrior with Warrior 3, and then we'll take a mini break, and then I'll let you know we're going there. So, on that mat, stepping back and bringing that back heel down. Okay, going to move that, that doesn't help. So clearly does it. Okay, so bending the front leg as you normally would. Just make sure that this back leg is more of an internal rotation, which might mean you have to change the back foot position. This one, if anything, is a bit more of an external rotation. Arms come up at shoulder level. Okay. So this is our standard position for Warrior 3. So what we're going to do here is see if we can keep the feet and the legs active as we, almost like we're reaching forward with the front hand to take the armpit forward of that front hand. Obviously everything in the top body comes with you. And then as if someone, excuse me, is pulling you back. That's my foot in there. Is pulling you back. But you don't straighten your leg, so the base stays the same. So just go seesawing, tree, extending back and extending forward, extending back, extending forward. You can choose where you look. You might be looking over just the front hand. A little bit of a gaze over the front. Central finger. Okay, and that's just the arms come down for a moment. Okay, and then sweep them back up to wherever you're comfortable there. So keeping the legs, again, engaged, then you're just moving a little bit through the top body. So I'm a little bit trapped here, but it's just a little bit of a rotating from the rib cage. And then let's pause, take a break for the arms. Okay, so we're going to go from Warrior 3 to Reverse Warrior, so that one where we lean towards the back leg. So Warrior 3, Warrior in reverse, Warrior 3, Warrior in reverse. Looking at the armpit or inner arm. So the gaze is going, as I say, more towards the inner arm, and then the gaze is going over the front hand. Gaze more to the inner arm, and gaze over the front. So one more reverse. Come back into Warrior 3, And I think we can just use the stepping forward and back rather than doing anything extra clever. So just use the back leg, use the back arm to get yourself to the front of the mat. Okay, so do what you need to do to feel comfortable to do the second side. So stepping back, back heel down, knee above ankle at the front knee, that's that bent leg. Okay, and then just make sure that you're internally rotated with that back leg, slightly external rotated with that front leg. Let's find our warrior on this side. And then we're being pulled from the front, reaching forward. We're being pulled from the back. Pulled from the forward, pulled from the back. Once you kind of feel like you think this is kind of, you've got this kind of extension forward and back, then just look over the front hands, gazing over a loose gaze over that middle finger. So nothing to try not to sort of over stare, over being harsh with the eyes. So that's why I'm calling gaze, it's soft. Okay, next time you're back to what you think is neutral, then a little bit of movement to get into it. A simple twist, yeah. So you only got a little bit of maneuvering because you're not keeping your pelvis where it is. It's all the rib cage movement, which is for some of us is quite difficult to move in and out of. And then we're going to pause, and then we're going to let rest the arms for a moment. We're going to go back into warrior, and we're going to go to stand there to reverse. Finding a breathing pattern that works for you. So in a way, you could do either. Try and breath in on this one, breath out on this, but don't feel you need to do that. Just see what feels kind of supportive and helpful. I'm out to try both. Okay, this plus one more. And step into the front. Okay, so you thought you liked flows until you had to keep doing them. Okay, and we got one more. We've got one more. Okay, so come to the front of the mat. So we're going to go from warrior into both of the versions of side angles that we've been doing in the last couple of weeks. So stepping back, heel down, check your internal rotation, external rotation, come into the warrior. From here, first side angle, breathing out, and the arm just rests on the thigh. Back into breathing in into warrior three. That's my suggestion. Breathing out, and this time what we did last week, taking the hand all the way down the shin and the arm over. You might look under the inside of the armpit if that gaze works for you. Sometimes it doesn't. Breathing in this time. So we alternate in between the two different types of side angle that we've been doing. Sliding down the second time. Just resting the forearm on the first repeat. So we'll do one more. Step forward. We'll do our loosening up thing. And then we'll do the other side. So stepping back, foot down, says he, and then internal rotation of the back leg, external of the front leg. Let's find our warrior. Here it is, I found it. And from here, breathing in, breathing out into lower arm and thigh. Warrior looking over the front hand. second type of side angle where the hand drifts down. You can always keep to the first one. That's going to feel the safest and the most suitable for today. So just moving between, looking at the armpit, soft gaze, soft gaze, soft gaze. Coming up and stepping forward. Yay. Okay. That's a lot of work there. A lot of flowing. So we're working all this, we're kind of working more around the strength really. And there's some of the release and the movement work there, but kind of keep that length through the front body and working on the opening of the front body to release any restriction that we might have in that front area. So we're going to do as we've done, I think, both weeks. We're going to take your hands to the sides of your rib cage and going to rest there. And you're going to breathe there, ideally with your mouth closed. You're going to notice whether your rib cage is sticking out either way or you're collapsing. Most people actually in this position end up over sticking out the base of the rib cage. So call it back in. And the rib cage should broadly be over the pelvis. It's hard to get that sense, but that's what we're looking for. And we're breathing. We try and relax a little bit here. It's not easy. Still keeping the sense of an upright spine without sticking the rib cage out. And then next time we breathe out, pushing in a little bit if that feels okay for you to do, safe. Breathe in and keep some hold here. So we're asking the diaphragm to work a little bit harder, keeping it as it is, breathing out. So your own breath in and breath out. So I'm doing a little bit of a Ujjayi breath, which you may remember, you may not. So I'm not expecting you to change anything, but if you know what Ujjayi is in terms of lengthening the breath, then you could try that out as well. Okay, and the shake out. That's great. So we're going to go down onto all fours. You'll need access to your muscle release ball or your blanket for fairly soon, as we'll be repeating some of what we did before. So previous week, so we're coming on to all fours with the wrists below the shoulders and the knees hip position. You decide whether your toes are tucked or untucked. And just for a moment doing like a circuit, so you're just going to circling around wrist to wrist, knee, knee, wrist, wrist, and we're trying to keep the spine in its natural curves, so we're not dropping in the front of the rib cage, we're not overarching in the lower back, and just going the other direction. And then bring the knees together to come into your figure of eight. So you finding your happy way of moving to free up the wrists, the elbows, the shoulders, the hips. You'll get one side of the body lengthening and then the other side. And then opposite direction, your figure of eight. Trying to not lose that natural spinal positioning. and then pause. As in last week, we're going to extend the bum back. We'll take the hands forward, keeping the head slightly off the floor, but the back of the neck long. Feel like we're pushing back a little bit, as long as the back can cope with that lengthening. So it feels like the sitting bones are going back. Okay, just breathing here. And then take the hands, both hands to the right. You might stack the left hand on the right hand, and again, just lower the head. Take a couple of breaths on the first side. And then find your way to center, find your way over to the left, same deal. Right hand on top of left, lengthen back, breathe. Back to neutral. Okay, finding your blanket or your muscle release ball. And that needs to be slightly behind the wrists, whether it's the ball or the blanket. And we're coming from this extended position to ultimately coming into Sphinx position. So we come forward, and the ball or the blanket finds the base of the rib cage. We can settle down with the arms in front of us. Then we do. So I'm on the forearms, but I'm going to take my elbows slightly wider than my shoulders. And I'm going to try and create a little bit of a lift and then a release, a lift. So there's a bit of a push of the belly and the rib cage onto the support. You're looking up, and then you're looking down. So careful with the neck, yes. So don't overextend. So with the ball, you can kind of roll the belly a little bit on the ball. Okay, and then pause, and then just look over the right side, and then the left side. So there's a little bit of movement from the rib cage. So again, you'll notice that more. You've got the ball, because that'll be kind of wobbling its way across. Stuck. Okay. So from there, gently finding your way up. So again, you're using the ball or the blanket. I'll show you the blanket for now. So you're gonna need to get the blanket folded. You're going to be lying on your front with your blanket at the top of your thigh, so really towards the crease, right up to the top. You've got your leg over the blanket and the other leg's extended. Yeah, it's just extended. And you can just relax. You can look, you can have your head on the top of the hands, or look one way or the other. And it would be the same for the ball. Yeah, it goes at the top of the thigh, hip crease area. And you rest that. So what we're trying to do here is breathe a little bit more into the area where the ball is or the blanket is. It's easier again with the ball than it is with the blanket, because you kind of get a little bit more feedback there. And part of the reason we're working lower in the body, when why we're doing here, we're supposed to be focusing on the diaphragm. Well, there's a pelvic diaphragm as well as the diaphragm in the rib cage area, respiratory diaphragm, and they work together. And if they don't work together, then it's more problematic. But for the respiratory diaphragm, so we wanted to release both of them and also strengthen both of them. So the work we're doing earlier was a little bit more strengthening. Here we're trying to get the breath down deeply. Okay, so it won't work as well with the blanket, but hopefully you can get a little bit of a sense of the breath, even if you imagine that the breath down towards the top of the thighs and down into the pelvic floor. So swapping sides, so just getting yourself up and placing the ball at the top of the blanket at the top of the opposite thigh. Or if it doesn't work for you, just leaving that out, but finding the same positioning. And sometimes have to wriggle a bit to be comfortable. And finding, so you're looking to feel like there's a bit more of an expansion from one hip to the other hip in the belly as well. That might, for some people, that makes sense. More than just breathing into the pelvic floor. So again, finding your way out of this. And what we do to close is just to rest on our back with maybe a weight, and the weight's going on your rib cage, so it's weighing things down. So your diaphragm would have to work harder to push the weight away. So that's a strengthening exercise, but it might also feel like you're releasing the breath to a kind of really interconnected. So if you haven't, then you just place your hands on there and give a little bit of weight. So finding your way down, maybe finding your rice bag or whatever it is that you've managed to use as an alternative, because I don't expect any of you will have invested in the sandbag option. And feeling the weight of the arms or feeling the weight of whatever you've managed to find that's largely on the base of the rib cage. It may overlap onto the belly slightly. And if you're having to just use your imagination, imagine greater weight on that area, relax the shoulders and the jaw and the eyes. Relax the butt. And you might deepen the breath slightly, if that's possible. And when I say deepen, I really mean just making the in-breath a little bit longer. So what you could do is you could count the length of the in-breath, count the length of the out-breath, just going 1, 2, 3, whatever. And seeing if you're able to extend for the next few, just a couple more counts. So it was only a tester, taster. So lifting the bag off, you've got a bag or something on the chest, and just lie there for a moment without the weight. So it's a bit like when we have our hands pressing into the sides of the rib cage. It's a similar kind of idea, but it's much more impactful to have it on the whole of the front of the diaphragm, the front of the rib cage. So I feel like I've got loads more space. And also it's useful if you're somebody who tends to extend out to the front of the rib cage. So this will get the back of the rib cage much more comfortably down to ground. Okay, let's finish here. So bringing the feet to the ground, taking the arms up to the sky for a moment. Let's let the knees go one way and the arms go the other way, just to loosen up. And when you're ready, just rolling over. Okay, and our work is done. Thank you for joining me. We'll be back next week for week 4. Okay, have a good week. Whatever you do.